What's going on, everybody? TheKennyDubz here with another Mega Man X-Type character overview video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Dive Armor Axel as he releases soon in the global version of X-Dive. Alright, so here we're taking a look at Dive Armor Axel. I really like his intro animation too. Pretty cool. Take a quick look at the splash screen here. Quite nice. A bit flashy though, with all like the the dive and the laser effects, but I do like it. Anyway, so let's take a look at his skills real quick here. So first up, we have the Burst Laser. Unleashes a laser forward that deals 214% attack damage to all targets in range continuously, and it causes laser explosions along its laser trajectory, causing 57% damage to all targets within range. So right off the bat, pretty powerful skill here. Quite nice. The downside though about this one is that, well, it's a linear skill, but that's not that big of a deal. But the cone of the laser isn't all that big, so it might be pretty easy to miss just inherently. So first up, we have the power increase, increases power rate by 10% because we always gotta have that modifier chip. And so we have undo shield. When hitting a target, it removes the target shield. Pretty nice there that he has that inherently, but I think it'd be better if this was included in a passive, but not a bad modifier chip. And then finally, we have output unlocked. This doubles the laser's width right here because it's increased by 100%, so it doubles the width. And if you look in the little image here, like you can see it right there, there's the default, and you can see it's much bigger here, output unlocked, which is really nice. Doesn't increase the damage, but it makes it, a lot easier to hit things with your laser, which is very, very good there. Next up, we have A-shaped strafing, a skill I really like on Dive Armor Axel. First up, deal an A-shaped mark that can penetrate terrain and has an enemy-seeking tracking effect to deal about 206% attack damage to the target and mark the target. Then, teleport to the target's location, dealing damage to targets within range with a strafing barrage. Inflict slow on the target after it has been hit, reducing movement speed by 50%. So that's a huge slow right there. You do not take any damage during use. The effective teleport is only valid for the player and will only be used in place if the target is not marked. So this wording is weird. What they mean to say is, I'm pretty sure what they mean to say is arena, right? Because I don't remember teleporting while I'm playing PvE, but I don't. I think I might have just killed the enemies with the first step of A-shaped strafing, and unfortunately, the wiki doesn't have the damage. The damage modifier here for A-shaped strafing. So that's unlucky. But what this does do is it teleports, and then I can't know how to say it. It's like a screen nuke, right? It makes a big screen nuke, affects everywhere, like, and you deal damage to everything within range of that. That's quite nice there. First, if we have accelerated shot, the damage register of strafing barrage increased by 20%. Jamming causes interference when using A-shaped mark, and strafing barrage. Dispelling causes a target to dispel a buff 2 times. So when using each step of this, you actually get the chance to inflict interference, which is quite nice. So you dispel 2 buffs. And finally, we have Showtime. You'll not suffer negative side effects when using strafing barrage. So with this, you will have access to. Oh wait, is it on? Might not be on this. Okay, never mind. I thought it was on this, but yeah. No status effects here, except for the passive skills. We actually have quite a bit to get into with this passive skills because some of them are kind of loaded. But they can be started after using Burst Laser. Increase of movement speed by 18%. Can be stacked after 2 stacks. Will not take any damage using Burst Laser. So this gives you iframes when using Burst Laser, which is really good, and you get a movement speed buff when using Burst Laser 18%. It can be stacked twice. Now, according to the wiki. Never mind, it doesn't tell me how long the buff lasts for. I thought I'll have useful information today, but maybe not for Dive Armor Axel. Alright, next up we have Energy Steal. When using Strafing Barrage, restore own HP by 28%, which is quite nice there, 20% of the attack, and then reduce damage taken by 10%. So you already have inherent damage mitigation on this, and you have some healing, quite a bit of healing at that, which is really, really nice. Next up, we have Effect Stimulation. When activating A-shaped mark and Strafing Barrage, gain enhanced damage and enhanced defense with the effect and stacks equal to the a duration increase of the speed you may have gotten from rapid attack. This interference will not be off. This status will not be offset by interference status. So with this won't be offset by interference. However, it can still be stolen with Grudge Axe or with Singularity Slasher, but you won't be able to, you know, make use of the interference status to get rid of it. Although I think Scourge would still get rid of it because you're not using interference to offset this. But anyway, Axel has quite good, you know, he has quite good buff management here with his 2 stackable attack buffs and then his stackable attack and a defense buff. So it's quite good. So he has offensive and defensive buffs, which is really, really good because the speed buff allows you to engage or disengage and PvP. And then the offensive and the defensive buffs are just good for, you know, taking less damage and dealing more damage, which is really, really good there. Next up, we have laser activation. When you hit a target with a weapon, reduce the prep time for burst laser by 2 seconds. It can only be triggered once again after a 3-second cooldown. Burst laser will call the first target it hits to become immobile, but this can only trigger once more after 4 seconds, which is very, very nice there. So you hit someone with burst laser, you get your speed boost, you get the interference status on them, and then you can choose whether to engage or disengage, you know, things like that, or you just use this in maybe a race kind of mode kind of thing. Though I'm not sure if you would really want to do that. However, I do feel the need to kind of point out, never mind, this information isn't on the wiki either. Great. So you get 2 seconds, 2-second decrease every 3 seconds. And I think burst laser is on a 6-second cooldown, if I remember correctly. I think it's a 6-second, it might be 8. I don't remember. I have to go back and check in game. But yeah, that's very, very good for when you're hitting with your weapons. And then we have strafing activation. We use burst laser, which is prep time for A-shaped strafing by 2 seconds. So I can only trigger once after 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds, you use burst laser, you reduce the activation time of burst of A-shaped strafing, which is really, really, really good there because A-shaped strafing is like your nuke. Increase the damage by 20% when hitting a target that has been slowed, and that is very, very good right there because this is just kind of it's just an inherent damage boost that means that you don't actually need to have need to have any kind of buff, right? Like if the target is slowed, then you can just get a damage increase on it. Really, really good. They're kind of like Dive Armor Zero has that effect, so that is quite nice there. And then the DNA for Dive Armor Axel. As per usual, I don't know if he's gonna get his DNA when he releases this Wednesday and global, but in the off chance that he does, actually I'm like 90% sure he's not getting his DNA. Our recovery boost increases the recovery power of energy steal by 25%. So 25% and 25%. Energy steal is increased by 25%, which is quite nice there. I would like a little bit more in this, but because Dive Armor Axel is already a pretty solid character, he's not going to get the craziest DNA increases. Except we have power increase. Increases the damage rate of strafing barrage by 10% because we couldn't not have this on strafing barrage. You know, the distance between burst laser explosions are reduced, and the lasers are reduced and increased so that it's easier to consecutively inflict damage. Actually, I like this one. Because the explosion on the burst laser are not like Titan, kind of like how I believe Dive Armor X has that on one of his passive. I don't remember if it's his DNA or if it's just a passive, but yeah, it makes it a bit easier to land the explosions. On top of that, your burst laser also inflicts immobilize. So if you land the immobilize, odds are you're going to be landing even more damage because the laser explosions are now tighter, and then you can get those more consecutively. That's very, very good. And then finally, we have high energy storage repository. Enhance the effect of acceleration from rapid attack by 11%, and then increase duration by 50%. So it lasts 50% longer, which is always great, especially for a speed buff, and it is 11% more potent. So again, that comes over here. So that's 29% per stack, which is a huge increase off of that. And you get 2 stacks up of that. And then on top of that, because of that, that also indirectly enhances this, I believe, as well, because you gain enhanced damage and enhanced defense with effects, stacks, and duration equal to the increase of movement speed maybe gotten for rapid attack. So this passive is actually even better because it affects two DNA passives, or 2 passives from this DNA, which is really, really good there. And then on top of that, for his recombined DNA, we actually have another character with Scourge. So if for some reason you want another character with Scourge, you want to put this on someone else, you go. Dive Armor Axel has access to that. But Dive Axle inherently will not be able to use Scourge unless you're using this right here, unless you're using the jamming. So that's something worth noting as well if you want to make use of the Scourge, because this is the only way he inflicts interference inherently. But it's still a pretty solid passive there. And then on top of that, we also have Snipe Adaptability, Snipe Boost 3s. These are good because of you can hit your laser from far away, and your A-shaped strafing mark, hit it from far away. That's pretty good there. Third Operation Adaptability actually isn't bad, or the Amplification either. It's because you can heal quite a bit with Dive Armor Axle, so you can actually keep these up more frequently. And then you have the double amp for machine gun and launcher, and then sprayer and launcher, which actually I think is pretty interesting. I think it's kind of suited to Axel as well. And we also actually have some weapons that make good use of this. However, in the global version, maybe you don't want to use, that might vary a little bit just because we shouldn't have this DNA immediately. So the weapons you want to use with him might be a bit different until he gets his DNA. Other than that, we have some other stuff over here. We have interference resistance, mobilize resistance, which is pretty interesting. Interference resistance special attack. I'm sorry, interference special attack and mobile special attack. These are good as well to amplify your damage even further. And slow special attack as well. Slow special attack might be what you want to go with this because he inherently inflicts slow. And he inflicts immobilize as well. But he already gets a damage increase while hitting something in slow. And I think it's more easy to land slows than it is immobilize most of the time. But that's going to be it for Axel's kit. So let's take a look at some weapons that'll pair well with him. All right. Well, so because I'm going to be talking a little bit about global, a little bit about future for Dive Armor Axel, weapons are going to be like here and there depending on what we're going to have access to. And because he doesn't inherently natively have damage increase on himself, melee Buster. It's just tried and true. Nice and good there. So Explosive Bolt, as per usual, best Sniper Buster you can make use of. You can also make use of the Sniper Buster. Sniper Buster isn't bad there either. Again, Explosive Bolt has a very high damage potential, but I always recommend Player Killer for the hidden skill, just because all you have to do with Player Killer is exist. While Penetration does have a higher potential damage output, Penetration requires a bit more setup and could be stage dependent. Outside of those two, you can also make use of the Hawk Precision Buster. I like this Buster, but I don't like it in practice. Reason being is because it has this really cool skill that allows it to pierce terrain. But in order to pierce terrain, you have to hit with this weapon first, as opposed to it just naturally piercing terrain. Might be a little too good if it pierces terrain inherently, but I mean, this is also an option you can use as well. And then there's also the Destructive Laser as a Sniper Buster option, which is quite nice there. It's a little bit weaker than Sniper Buster, but has a high rate of fire. And on top of that, something that you could do, or I guess is pretty interesting that can be done with this, is you can make use of the Chill Penguin chip. I usually don't suggest chips because you can kind of put whatever you want. But Chill Penguin also inflicts slow, and inflicting slow means you deal more damage inherently with Dive Armor Axel. So I think it's worth pointing that out for this one. Although I didn't do that for Dive Armor 0 because I just forgot. Now for melee weapons, kind of just going to be more of the same. Nightmare always a good weapon. Nightmare gives you attack boost, so you have even more attack boost. Just swing it around. Not much to say about that. Ancient Relic here is your utility weapon, utility melee weapon. With the Ancient Relic, you actually have access to shields, which Axel doesn't have inherently, so maybe you might want to go with shield. There's a speed boost as well, but Axel already has a speed boost, so you don't necessarily need to worry about this. Also, it's crit damage and cleansing as well, or Asuna, so that is an option you can do there. Cannot forget to mention the Grudge Axe. Grudge Axe is just a great weapon, though with more and more characters coming out with buffs that cannot be stolen, well, Grudge Axe will lose a little bit of playability, and one of the things that is proficient at doing. However, because not all buffs cannot be stolen, Grudge Axe is still a very, very good weapon to use. It's only 60% chance total to gain access to the buffs that the opposition has, but with dash slashing, it's pretty easy to trigger. You also have a chance to hit them with out of control. Though something I do want to note is that I think with the next update we're going to get, which should be pretty soon, is that in the Taiwan version there was an issue with dash slashing. So I think we're gonna inherit that, just because we have to inherit any bug that Taiwan has alongside anything that global has. So dash slashing might be pretty decold to use for a little while. I don't know when it's gonna get fixed, if it gets fixed. It gets fixed eventually, probably, but I don't know how long that's gonna be for the global version of the game. I know it's a thing. It was a thing in the Taiwan version, and I'm pretty sure that we are gonna end up getting that. Also wanted to call attention to the Singularity Slasher. Singularity Slasher is a decent side grade if you don't have the Grudge Axe. The thing with Singularity Slasher is that it dispels buffs rather than stealing them. So if you're not running the interference status on Axel, you can make use of this pretty easily. This or the Grudge Axe pretty effectively. But I between these two, I think Grudge Axe is just better. Like, why? It's just better to take the buffs from the opponent and give them to yourself than just dispel them straight up. Though the dispel from this is guaranteed when you slash with it, and you could even remove up to 2 buffs with this. Though Axel can just inherently do that too if you choose the modifier chip to do so. Alright, so now we need to talk about a few machine guns here. First up, I do want to bring attention to Lover's Gaze. I don't know if it has this hidden skill yet in global version, but I'll mention it anyway, just in case it does and I'm just unaware of it. It has access to Fiery Passion. You might think increases damage rate, but decreases energy by 40%. Well, that doesn't sound all that great, Kenny. Well, this machine gun actually has a similar thing to the, oh god, I forgot the name of the weapon now, Turbo Cannon. Whereas when you run out of energy, you gain iframes, which is quite nice to make use of as well. That's pretty good. On top of that, this has Love and Peace, so this gives a fat attack crush for the opposition, nearly 30% off of this, which is huge, you know, just inherently just having that. And then it gives amplified damage when you hit something in attack production status as well. So I did want to mention this. Like I said, though, I don't know if it has the hidden skill yet in global, but this is something I did want to bring attention to. Assault rifle is an interesting choice as well that you could do. I think that assault rifle could be pretty useful. The downside is, though, I don't think assault rifle is as good on stages where you can't ricochet, right? So kind of like in the same vein as the penetration hidden skill for the explosive bolt. What this does, first of all, what this does, when you hit the target with the skill, there's a chance for them to become immobile, which is quite nice. And then this increases the chance of to trigger the immobilization by 40%. And when you hit a target that's immobile, increase that damage by 10%. And then with this, what you could also do is get the DNA on your dive armor axle, so that when you hit something that's immobile, you deal even more damage because of that. And then I mentioned the ricochet earlier because with this, your range is increased by 10% and your shot will ricochet off of terrain. So that's why I mentioned that. And then for the hidden skills, I actually have some pretty interesting things here. We have the Lightning Strike here. When hitting a target that's immobile or causing immobile, your crit damage is increased by about 79%, or 70%, which is quite nice. And then you have Weakness Analysis, which increases your crit rate by about 78% when you hit a target that is immobile. So this could be a cute little tech you use there on your dive armor axle. Now, these next few weapons I don't own in this account, but I do want to bring these out anyway. Savage Tusk of Thunder. Savage Tusk of Thunder, great weapon. This has access to debuff or buff removal as well, I'm pretty sure, alongside the attack or the defense crush on this, which is quite nice. And I believe this has, I think this one has confusion, right? And the reason I say I think this has confusion is because I always get this confused with the Atomic Disintegration's hidden skill. Now, Atomic Disintegration hidden skill, I'm pretty sure has the out of control status. The downside with the Atomic Disintegration, even though I think this weapon is really, really good as a machine gun, this drops frames like a lot, to the point where it gets really hard for either you or your opponent to see what's going on the screen. So that's why I try to stay away from recommending this all that much, but I do think it's a good option. And then finally, for machine guns, for this, we have the Acidic Machine Gun. Acidic Machine Gun's pretty good. It appears to rain, has access to slow as well, so to give Dive Armor Axel a bit more in terms of being able to make use of his passive where he deals more damage if the target is slowed. And let's talk about some launchers now. First things first, the Sides Will. It's like the best, one of the best launchers in the game. This weapon by itself is pretty decoy if you're playing against it. No matter what, this weapon will auto aim, even if you're in a state of confusion and auto aim turned off. Pierces terrain. You know, this weapon is just like, you know, the premier zoner weapon. And on top of that, again, this is something you can use with Dive Armor Axel, because when he gets a buff when using launcher weapons with his DNAs. But also, you can make use of the snipe adaptability or the snipe amplification as well with that. A few other launchers I will mention as well is the Cannon God. The Cannon God is a pretty solid weapon. It's a it's a downgrade from the Decides Will. If you don't have Decides Will, you can make use of the Cannon God. As you can see, I actually own this weapon now on my account, so I can actually show the complete penetration here. Shots have large hitbox and go through the landscape and there, which is quite nice. And it also has access to shockwave, so you can render the target immobile. And again, that kind of plays into some of the things that Dive Armor Axel can make use of with his DNA and things like that. I don't know if this has its hidden skill on global. But flight assistance device is quite good. You could also go with place, I know, if you really want. And then the paralyzing current, I'm not sure, because you already have shockwave, so I'm not sure if this calculated separately. Aren't one of these two to trigger? I'm not entirely sure on that. But yeah, you know, some things you can do there. Then we have the Turbo Cannon. Turbo Cannon is a fantastic weapon as well. It has access to iframes. Just be aware that if you're going to go for the iframes for the Turbo Cannon, you need overheat protection. You have to empty your clip in order to do that. And in order to empty your clip, you might want to avoid unlocking this, because it gives you more range and energy, which sounds good at first. But more energy means it takes you longer to empty your clip, so it means it takes you longer to get to your iframe. So just be aware of that as well. Thought I mentioned this as well because some people seem to like this weapon. I don't think it's all that great, to be quite honest. It does quite a few different things here with this. For starters, it pierces terrain, so you know, it does what Cannon God and what Decides Will can do. It also has this the Starbreaker right here, so it can do a little bit extra damage there, which is quite nice. It has restriction off as well to reduce the time that Starbreaker triggers. But also with this, it allows you to dispel 2 buffs, which again, I don't really like dispelling buffs. I prefer if you take the buffs as well, but Axel can already do that inherently himself. But because this can pierce terrain, this might be something you want to have, or maybe you don't have the Cannon God or the Decides Will, so you want to use this. I don't know if this has hidden skill on global or not either, but if it does, the positioning system would be quite nice. Star Fragment is decent, and so is the Energy Burst. Alright, as for sprayer weapons here, I'm just gonna go through like the basic ones. You know, your Gator Fangs, your Explosive Blowers. Those would be fantastic options to just use, just because they are really, really good. Explosive Blower has the effect of stunning, so that's good there. It can stun once every 4 seconds when hit. And the Gator Fangs, actually, I think it's a lot better on Dive Armor Axel in particular, because this is already strong. It does a lot of damage up close, because you get your Predator boost and your rapid reload, your Running Fang. However, this inflicts the chilled status, and Dive Armor Axel deals more damage when the target is slowed. So with that in mind, you can easily rack up quite a good amount of damage with Dive Armor Axel. This has jamming as well if you really want to go through with that, but also has Razor Fangs and Zero Range adaptability if you want to use those as well. And then one last weapon I want to talk about with Dive Armor Axel is the Lightbender. This is a sprayer type weapon, and it looks like a chainsaw, because it is. Now, this weapon is actually very, very particular, because this weapon can actually do melee damage, which is very advantageous with its passive. This is a fantastic sprayer, so when it comes to the global version, if you're interested in using sprayers or characters like Dive Armor Axel, I would suggest pulling for it. Now, this already has access to things like jamming, so if you really want to use jamming, you can do that. You can use that. The jamming on Lightbender, though, can remove up to 3 buffs, which is huge. And after that, this can also shoot like 3 circular saws kind of things, saw wheels, in 3 different directions, which is quite nice as well. So this thing is very, very good. And then it even has a passive that gives you an attack boost, which is quite nice to use as well. And I typically don't talk about weapons before they release in the global version in these character overviews, but because I think this should be the next limited weapon that we get, you know, I figured I would mention it here. Okay, let's talk about some card combos, and kind of as per usual, because your cards are going to vary depending on what you have in your DNA, what you don't have covered in your DNA. I'm just going to talk about some kind of generic things here. For starters, we're going to cover the player killers and things like that. So Akuma has Master of the Fist, that's with player killer. We have M Bison, player killer 2. These two cards are limited though, so if you are going to, if you don't want to use these, you know, have to be aware that you have to be playing their Street Fighter collab. However, for a more affordable option, if you were not playing during that time, the Life Aura card for base EXE and the Sigma X4 card, both have player killer 2. And with the Life Aura card, you can stack 2 of these together, keep one at 5-star and another one less than 5-star, and you have access to player killer 2 and player killer 3. Which is very, very nice there. And these two you can get from the research lab. No, I'm sorry, the token shop. The ones you get from the research lab are the two I'm going to mention here, which if you're really on a budget, the Wheel Gator card, you can stack this with itself, Player Killer 2, Player Killer 1. Not as good as the other cards, but if you're really struggling, you know, there's the Wheel Gator card, and then there is also the Matt card. You don't actually get this card from the research lab. However, this card is pretty easy to get from card packs as it's an A-rank card. And again, you can stack this with itself, player killer 2, player killer 1. Again, if you're on a budget. But I think it's just easier to get the base or the Sigma X4 cards. Outside of that, if you're using the Buster Melee combo, Elite Hunter, Double Elite Hunter is always going to be your friend. 2 of these plus a red card, and then you'll be good to go. For the red card, you can use the X and 0 card. The Elite Hunter card you get from your guilds as well, so I just wanted to make sure that was known. For a red card to combo with that, you can use the X and 0 card, which is, I think this was obtained from a monthly reward, so this might be missable, but this combos with that as well. There is also the Excess Memories card, which you get from the Deep Recorder. Right here has Buster Amplification, and then there is, I forget the card, I think it's called Twin Heroes. It's a red card that will combo with that. It has melee amplification and melee adaptability, which is good as well. That came from, I want to say, last month's monthly, so then that is kind of a limited card as well, but if you have access to that, that's good to use. Other than that, we have the Successfully Completed card for Buster Melee. Again, you can stack this with itself. So you get the 18% damage amplification. You don't get the damage mitigation from the Buster Melee combo, but I mean, you know, that's better than nothing. Now, if you're going to opt to go with Sprayer and Machine Gun at the same time, you actually use the Elite Strike card, which I believe you can get this from your guild as well, because I have so many of them, and I don't know where I'd be getting these from. As you hear, double amplification, you know, Machine Gun Sprayer here, which is good. Just make sure that you don't have this in your DNA if you're going to be using this combination, because you can stack this with itself there. There's also the Elf's Convergence, which you can get from your guild as well. Equip a machine gun and a launcher at the same time. Your damage about 80%. You can stack this with itself and get your, I believe it's 18% on this as well. You can make use of the Swimsuit Ico card as well here, as you can stack this with itself, and it has the double amplification machine gun and launcher if you want to make use of that. And then even the Swimsuit Seal card could be used if you want to make use of the interference status that Dive-Armor Axle has as a unique card, as interference special attack too, so you can stack 2 of these together for that. Alright, I think that'll wrap up this video talking about Dive-Armor Axle. Now, should you pull for Dive-Armor Axle? I think it's going to depend on your account. Dive-Armor Axle is definitely more aimed for PvP. However, you can use him in PvE pretty easily because of his healing, though you can use basically any character in PvE, so like that really doesn't matter all that much. But if you want another character for your PvP roster, you could pick up Dive-Armor Axle. He's very, very good. He's very, very good. I know a lot of people are just constantly just saying that he's bad. He's actually not bad. I think one of the big reasons that people say that he's not good is because people are just kind of so desensitized to things where if they're not absolutely over the top broken, then they're not good. So because we got Dive Armor 0 recently. If everything's not at least Dive Armor 0's level, well then a lot of people are just going to say, well then if it's not Dive Armor 0 level, it's not good. But that's just not true. Dive Armor Axel is a pretty solid pick. That's gonna be it for this video. You're gonna have to like take a look at your account and see what you want to use for PvP if you are deciding if you want to use Dive Armor Axel or not, or maybe just like Axel, and that's more than enough to pull for him. Which, you know what? Hey, go for it. That's me with Battle Network units. That's why whenever there's a Battle Network unit, I'm like, I want it. Like Base Cross the Mega Man, I got him. I had to get him just because I like Battle Network. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on my channel to go show me enjoying the content. Quick shout out to my channel members and my patrons. Thank you for supporting me, allowing me to continue doing what I do. If you'd like to support me as a patron or as a channel member, you can do so by finding information down below in the description. And I will catch you guys next time. Later.